Hello all my knitty friends, welcome to Hudson Valley Knits. I'm Amy, also known as Memers on Ravelry, and I am Memers66 on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks for joining me. Today we are actually in my backyard. So much going on. I not as much knitty stuff to show you as last time. I had so much to talk about last time, and I really took up a long time, so this will be a little shorter. Let's get down to it. So I just did a quick announcement to remember the senior love along, and I was quite inspired again this weekend, which I'll get into. I'll do all the chatter at the end, but basically what I'm doing for those of you who have not heard of it is I plan to give away in the holiday season, at the end of the year, to visit the nursing homes and give away washcloths as gifts for the holidays. I did this last year. I didn't actually go to the nursing homes. My department at work volunteered at a local Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army put together these little gift packages to give away at the nursing homes, and I was kind of moved by the fact that somebody was doing something for these people, but I wanted to do something more and something more personal, and that's why I put out this Senior Love Along. So if you would like to knit washcloths for the Senior Love Along with 100% cotton only, I have a thread going on. So far there are 2 prizes which are listed in a prize thread. I'm hoping to get more prizes. If you would like to donate a prize, please, I would appreciate any donations. We have lots of people making washcloths. I have donated a skein of yarn so far. I have Emily from Fibertown has also donated some yarn, and I will also be giving away all of my patterns as a gift or as a prize for the Senior Love Along. And in the pictures thread, please post one post with a picture for each washcloth, because each washcloth gives you a chance to win. And I've written this in another thread, in the information thread, that but people are still posting one picture with all their washcloths, and I just don't want you to lose. I want you to get as many chances to win as you can. So that's the Senior Love Along, and I'm really getting excited about it. And anyway, I don't have any finished objects this week to talk about. I do have a lot on the needles. Sorry, I got distracted. I shouldn't get distracted. So let me start talking about my works in progress. I have spent a lot of time working on my vanilla socks. This is with the Patons Croy, and it's the blue striped rag colorway. I have started the second sock, so here's the first sock finished. It's with the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. I made it just a little too long, and basically with the Fish Lips Kiss Heel you get kind of like a formula to create a cardboard template of your foot that you're used to know when to, in the case of a cuff down sock, you'll know when to start decreasing for your toes. And I reached that point, and then I just felt like it was not long enough, so I knit it out a little further, and I didn't trust the pattern, and basically my sock is a little long, but it still came out good. So next time I know to really trust the form, the cardboard, which here's mine. And then here is the progress on the second sock. So you see. Yeah, and I'm knitting these on my signatures, which I love my signature DPNs. I didn't always enjoy knitting on DPNs as much as I do now, since I got the signatures. But and it's not just the signatures I knit on. I don't know, I just like it now. But I still knit for the most part, I knit on Magic Loop. That's my preferred method. So that's the Patton's Croix. It's a great sock yarn, and it's not too expensive. It's very affordable, and I highly recommend it. You could get it at Joann's or Michael's. So that's one thing on the needle, and that's a kind of like a pocketbook knitting project. And I knit on it basically when I'm in a car, or just, I have a few minutes and I pull it out. I did go upstate this past weekend up to my parents' house, and I worked on it a lot up there because there was a lot of company. And with those, I could just knit and interact with the company, and instead of appearing like I wasn't paying attention to anyone, which drives some people nuts. So that was one project, knitting project. I did finally start another washcloth for my senior level long, and I was going through my stitch pattern dictionaries, and I went through Barbara Walters' fourth one. I think it was the fourth one home. Whoops. It was her fourth book of, I didn't put it in my show notes, gosh darn it. I think it's from her fourth stitch dictionary, and it's basically creating a hexagon and a straight pattern. It's going to be like a squirrel. So it will be like a shaped like a hexagon. I started it with this belly button method, and it has another name I forget, but I love this when starting circular shawls or something where you have to have a small circle and you're working on double pointed. I just knit like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 rows of not in the round, but the I-cord as an I-cord, and then from there I pick up and knit the pattern, and it just makes it much more easy to hold your stitches on the needles, because when you first cast on double pointed needles, if you only have like 6 or 8 stitches, it's really hard because your needles are getting in the way. So I'm using 2 colors, and I really like this one. I'm having fun with the senior level long because it gives me the chance to try a lot of different stitch patterns, and I'm really just loving it. So I hope you can knit 1 or 2 washcloths maybe by the end of the year. Oh, and just so you know, with the senior level long, I'm asking you to hold on to your washcloths until towards the end of the year, and then I'll have everyone mail them in. Only because I just have no place to store them now, which I'll talk about again. I'm going to give you guys a kitchen update. I had a couple of people PM me asking me how my kitchen renovation is going, and they answer slowly. But that's why, well, I haven't had as much time to knit, and it's also why I've been outside podcasting a lot. So, again, I have another sock on the needle. Now this one's a treat to show you. I don't know if you recall, but last podcast I showed you some ponies that I was spinning by Naturally Knitting. And here she is. Here's some of those ponies here. Her Etsy shop is Naturally Knitting. And her name is Jessica. And I actually ordered more from her because I really enjoy spinning with these. So here's what they look like. They're Rolags, but she calls them pony style Rolags. And I ordered 2 2-ounce bags of this, same colorway. I am working on the second 2-ounce bag, and I'll show you that when I get to the spinning, but I really wanted to make a pair of homespun socks, so I took the first half and I plied it and I started the sock. Here it is. Now, this is chain plied. If I were to do it over, I would do, it's all tangled up, I would do it regular 3-plied. Because, and I read about this when I was refreshing my chain plying skills, and In my defense, I've only chain plied once before, and I'm not that good at it. So I was hesitant to do this as a chain ply because the spinning of the singles came out so well on my spindle that I didn't want to ruin its loveliness. And then I thought about it and I said, why not? I mean, it's all a process. This is what it's all about. I'm sorry I'm looking down, but this is all tangled. Anyway, so it's chain plied. Here's a bit of it left. I didn't knit the cuff because I want to finish the other 3-ply first. And it is. I know it's not focusing because I'm back here. Is that coming in? I hope it is. I can't see it. But anyway, you can see here it's not consistent. And if you are an experienced spinner, you probably know what I did wrong is when you chain ply, you have to have very consistent singles because when you ply it, it plies in against itself on the same spot. So if for a section you've done it a lot thinner, and then in another spot you did it a little on the thick side, you're going to have some really thin yarn, and here's some like really thin yarn. And then you're going to have there's some really thin. And then here's some like really thick. Alright, and you can kind of see it. So these are more like heavy DK, or even, I would dare to say, worsted weight it came out, even though my singles, I was trying to keep them very thin. But I love them anyway. They're really soft, they're cushy, they're going to be very thick socks, and they're going to be ankle socks because they came out so thick. It's not enough to make a really tall sock like I usually like to have socks that go pretty far up my calf. But I'm so happy, and I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which came out wonderful. I love Fish Lips Kiss heel. And then when I finish spinning up the other half of my fiber, I will 3-ply it. I will chain ply it again, and when I catch up to where I am on this sock, then I'll start knitting them together at the same time so that I can make sure they kind of go up my foot the same amount of length. I'm so excited. So this would be my first homespun socks. I saw other people doing it. I got very excited about it, and as you can see, I couldn't wait. So that is that. And then my others, they're all socks. I just realized that. I didn't work on my husband's sweater at all, by the way. I think I showed you the swatch for it last week. And I didn't get around to even measuring him again, or even putting together a pattern for it. You know, picking the cables, patterns. So, my Hiroshima Peace socks, very little done on them. You probably can't tell, but I did get a couple of rows done. These are so slow that I have not had the motivation. And like I said, last weekend I was upstate at my parents'. I forget what I was doing the weekend before, but I have to not be disturbed to do this. It's very slow because you're pretty much working 2 socks simultaneously. But I am getting ready to, I am past the part where you put in the word peace. And so now it's just basically double knitting with these 2 colors straight, no patterns whatsoever, until I get to, you know, the heel turn. And it's just going to be really slow, and I think not going fast enough to keep me really engrossed in it. But I will finish them, and I think if I were to do it over, I might have used a thicker yarn. This is a fingering weight yarn, and it's very thin, and I think if I were to have used a thicker fingering weight, or even like a sport weight yarn, it might have been easier for me to stay in the flow with it. Come to think of it, I do have some plucking knitter in a sport weight. I don't know if I have enough though. All right. Anyway, these are, and Donna is having a knit along in her group for these. These are from the Stories and Stitches 3 book. And yes, you have to buy the book with all the patterns in it. And she's having a sock knit along. There's 3 different sock patterns in there that use different knitting skills. This one's double knitting. There's one that's stranded knitting, and there's one that's entrelac knitting. So you take your pick, and she's giving, even if you're not doing it, check out her blog, because the tutorials she's putting up are really amazing. So if you're a new sock knitter or you're thinking about starting, check out her blog, because you could learn to knit a sock just by following these blog posts. So check out Donna Drukenis's blog, and I'll put a link in the show notes. And then finally, for knitting, I just started this yesterday. It's a summer knit along with Wendy Knits. I love Wendy Knits. Here is, let me show you this. Here's the, you might recognize it because it was in the high spots for a while. And it's Wendy Johnson. Wendy's written a lot of sock books and lace knitting books. I love her stuff. I did her mystery knit along, I think in 2012. I didn't do it last year. And I've been, as you know, I've been doing a lot of work on my patterns, and I haven't done a lot of pleasure knitting or just knitting projects that from other designers, and I decided that pretty much from here on in, I don't want to be worrying about obligation knitting. I just want to do pleasure knitting. And like Wendy, Wendy said she'd been having a difficult year and wanted to do something that was kind of mindless and comforting, and I'm totally down with that, because I've had a pretty rough year so far too, and I haven't gone into a lot of the details here, but and I'm not going to, but it's been really hard, and it's getting better now. But I decided to do this shawl, and so far she put out Clue on yesterday, and I cast on right away, and here it is. Now it's garter stitch. It's a sideways shawl with a lace border. So she's starting, and we're going up. And she gets a formula so that you could use up all your yarn, or you can follow her pattern and stitch counts. But I am using actually a DK weight. It is Spirit Trail Fiberworks Brigantia. It's a honkin' skein. It's 600 yards, way more than the pattern, twice what the pattern calls for. And what I'm doing is I'm not going to increase its width. I'm going to increase its depth. So it's just under, according to the gauge, it would just be under a foot deep. And here is where I mean by deep. And I've decided to double up the increases on the garter on the plain body part, so that mine will be approximately 2 feet deep. And it will still have the same beautiful border. And this colorway is from the 2013 Yarn Club from Spirit Trail Fiberworks. I love Jenny's yarns, and I love her colors. Her bases are delicious. I forget how I heard about her, but she is every year at Rhinebeck, and she has a Spirit Trail Fiberworks website that you can check out, and of course I'll have a link. And this will be my comfort knitting in the coming months. No rush, no deadline. The only thing I have a deadline on is I have to knit Mark's sweater for Rhinebeck, and I really, really need to knit myself one too. But I'm not going to push myself into making that happen, because I just don't know if I can do it. I see people, I watch a lot of podcasts, And I see people whip out these sweaters, and they're granted they're most of these ladies are smaller than me, but still, even if I were that small, I don't think I could crank out a sweater the way they do. I'm totally in awe of that, but I don't know if it's something mental or something, but I just can't knit a sweater. It takes me months. I can't knit one quickly. And I am intimidated by sizing, and I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I definitely do want to make a sweater for my hubby. All right, so now that's all the knitting. Let's get on to the spinning. I guess I'll show you my spinning work in progresses thus far. Of course, I still have the poonies. Here is the second set of those lovely poonies I was showing you. That will be the second sock. I'm knitting these. I knit the last one on my Greenwood spindle, and this is on my Bosworth spindle. And loving it, loving it, loving it. I spent a lot of time spinning up at my mom's house last weekend too, and I've been really, I just love the spindle now. Spinning with Rollags has changed my spindle spinning tremendously. I've tried to spin off of braids and whatnot, and it came out ugly, and I thought it was because I was a beginner and I needed new practice. But spinning with these Rollags has changed the game for me. I was actually contemplating just getting rid of my spindles and just spinning on a wheel. That's how much I wasn't enjoying it until I got the Rollag. So I'm a die-hard Rollag / Poonie fan now when it comes to spindle spinning. It's worth it for me. All right, so that is number one. Number two is I'm currently spinning up some Highland Handmaid's Polworth Silk blend. Where's this? Oh geez, I think I forgot it upstairs. Let me see if it's in the back. I don't feel it. What was that? I think I left the bobbin upstairs in my room. I had one bobbin spun, but I had the fiber, so let me just show you the fiber. This is Highland Handmaid's, and it is pine, what does she call it? Pine pitch top. And it's in the colorway Islesboro Blues. And what I plan on doing with these beautiful braids is I broke them up into 3 equal pieces, equal weights. And the blue, look at those beautiful blues and greens. These are like my favorite colors, and you can see she has the blending, and it gives you a little bit of softer colors as it goes to the next. I spun up one already. They're each like 1.7 ounces or something like that, and I'm going to 3-ply it and see how much I get. I'm trying to spin it really thin and consistent. I learned, from doing the poonies that consistency is important. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll try socks again, or maybe I'll just do some fingerless mitts with it, or a hat or something like that. But loving Highland Handmaid's fiber. I love this color a lot. I love these blues and greens. Another thing, that's it with the works in progress for spinning, and I have been spinning more for Tour de Fleece, but I was spinning a lot this past month just in general. And on the last podcast, I talked to you about some Shetland I had spun up that I had gotten at the Webb's tent sale from Foxfire Fiber and Design. And I had brought that to show you. Last time I podcast, it was done, but it was drying, so I didn't bring it with. And I have it in 3 forms. So the main goal was to try 3-plying. I have never 3-plied before. And now that I have the Lendron wheel, I have the bobbins to do the 3-plying. So I spun it up, and I had twice as much of this purpley color than I did the blue. So it's 2 singles of the purple and 1 single of the blue. And it came out really nice, and it's nice and fluffy. I got it's 3.4 ounces of this 3-ply, and it's about 126 yards. Okay, and that then I ran out of one of the singles, so with the rest, what was left, I did a 2-ply, and that's this. So this is, about 76 yards, 1.2 ounces. I have no idea what I could possibly do with this. So I call it practice. And then I had a little bit left of this blue. And I used it to practice my 3-ply before I plied up from the, my chain ply, before I used my sock yarn, the one that you saw knit as a sock. So this was kind of like my practice, and I kept it. It's probably like a half an ounce. I have no idea how many yards. So this is one thing I did. Now another thing which you didn't get to see as it was a work in progress was I knit up this fiber from 2If by hand. Great fiber. Again, this is just like the Highland Handmade. This is Polwoor Silk. The colorway is Exhausted, and it's 2-plied, and I was using this to practice my woolen spinning. So it's not worsted spinning, it's woolen spinning, and I think it helped me improve it greatly. Lots of creamy colors. I love the oranges and the yellows, and then it's got these blues and greens. Love it. I really, really like it a lot. And I'm thinking maybe a little cowl or something like that. Not sure yet. But 2If by hand, and I really, really love it. And it was for a spin along on Stitch by Stitch podcast with Kim. And she had a coupon code, so I have some more fiber that I plan to spin up. Maybe I'll do that after this Highland Handmade stuff is done. But that is my spinning finished objects. And I think that's it, right? That's it. That's it. And I made it by a half an hour. But I am going to show you one thing I did buy. I didn't buy any fiber or yarn. Or I did, but I didn't get it yet. Oh, because next week's my birthday. My mom sent me, and my mom, I always say my mom, but it's my parents, sent me some money. And that's what I used to buy the poonies from Naturally Knitting. So I should have them next time. Here's the book. Hunter Hammerson's The Curiosity Cabinet, Volume 3. I have the first 2, but not in the book, just as the PDF. And I decided to splurge and get the book because I just, everybody said it makes a big difference. And what I like is she did a sock and an accessory pattern for each one. And they're just all beautiful. I mean, her style is a lot like my own, and I just really love her designs. I like to keep the shapes traditional and play with the stitches. Look at this, and the different yarns. Look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? Oh, it's just I love the way she dresses up her socks. And what I like about them is, and I like Cookie sock patterns, don't get me wrong, but they are very asymmetrical, and they are socks that if you knit them, they might pull or bias a different way, and they're very unique, but you have to concentrate very much when you make them. And I've knit a lot of Cookie socks. I love them. But it's not a relaxing pattern. These look very interesting, yet they're usually, for the most part, very easily memorized. And that's what I like about Hunter Hammerson. She's very, I want to say earthy, but I don't know. She doesn't go too far into the abstract. She keeps it simple yet extremely interesting with lovely textures. I mean, look at this. It's nothing out there. It's just simple and yet interesting. And I just, look at this. Maybe I'll use my hand spun to make these gloves. If it's thin, I don't know, what does it call for? Dreaming color, medium. I don't know. My yarn might be a little too thick for this, but I might be able to adjust the gauge, but just the little details in the cuff make it so interesting. Right? And the little gathers, and I love lavender. And she gives little, oh look at this, she gives you really good technique pictures. Oh, love this one. I love this one. So I want to make them all, and actually I've only made one of her designs, and it's a pair of socks that I made from the Curiosity Cabinet too. But this is why I'm kind of taking a break from publishing any more designs for a while, is so I can knit some pieces from other designers and just kind of have some fun, relaxing knitting time. Time for a little chatter, I guess, is a good segue. So much has been going on in my life. Some good, some not so good, some really trying stuff, excuse me. The wonderful thing is we're doing our kitchen. We're redoing our kitchen. Long overdue. We totally gutted it because we wanted to re-insulate, and because it's a very old house and the kitchen had not been done for a very long time, and we found newspaper in the walls when we gutted it from 1974. And that was when the cabinets were put up. So I know this. I guess I could go a little background. So this house that I live in, it is right next door to the house that my father grew up in, and the family that lived here, they were very close with. The family that lived in my house, the woman, her name was Ecangela Marafiotti. She was in her 90s when she passed away, and her husband died when she was in her 40s, and she raised 5 girls in my little 850 square foot house. And right next door was my father's house where he lived, so he grew up with her kids. And I don't know if I can show you, you're just going to see my oil tank, but that's kind of where my father grew up. Oh, you see? And my Aunt Rosie and Uncle Bill live there now. But at the same time that Ecangela had this kitchen done, was the same time that my grandmother had her kitchen done by the same cabinet maker. And they were literally custom made cabinets made out of pine, and he did my grandparents' house, and then he did this house. So, and it was in 1974. My father knew it was in the 70s, but he wasn't sure exactly what year. So the story is, we gutted it and we went to Home Depot, and we had sat with a kitchen planner and got an estimate and everything. But the problem we had was our ceiling was, first of all, not level, but it also was too low. So we had to raise the ceiling level. And luckily there's not a second floor atop our kitchen, so there's no problems with support issues, but that's taken a while. My son has been able to help a little bit, but my son has been very sick without going into a lot of details. And he is getting better, but he could only do so much for us to help. So my kitchen is still completely gutted as we speak. The only thing we've gotten done is the floor. The floor had been leveled. My husband and my son had to go in the basement and level out the floor from down there, and they added extra support beams because there was not enough support beams according to the architect designer guy. So they did that. My brother-in-law, who's a licensed electrician and will be doing the electric for us, came and did a little assessment. But basically, you know, to top it all off, my husband went and broke his foot. So he's not been able to work as much on it. as we'd like. So I'm currently living with a gutted kitchen and a living room that has a refrigerator, a kitchen table, and a baker's rack, and all my living room furniture. And it's extremely small. And my bird's cage, which is very large. It's not been that great, but I am very thankful it's summer because we've been grilling a lot. I am very thankful that my husband is a chef and works in a kitchen because he can cook food at work and bring it home. And it's all worked out for us in that aspect. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's going really slow because people have asked, because I mentioned it a few months back when we started initially gutting it in April. Not much has happened. That's that. The other thing I want to talk to you about is we had a family reunion yesterday, and we kind of had a mini one the weekend before upstate at my parents' house. My uncle and aunt from North Carolina came up, and it was just a wonderful visit. Some of my nieces and nephew came up with their little babies, and it was beautiful weather, and we just had a wonderful time. But yesterday at our family reunion, I got to sit and chat with one of my father's friends. His name is Vinny, and him and my pa used to work out together, and they swam together every day, and they both had dogs, dog lovers, and they would go for walks with their dogs and then go golfing. But Vinny is 92 now. My father, I think, is 78. Vinny, his friend Vinny, is already 92. He can't see anymore, and he was falling and tripping and walking into things. So he's in a nursing home now at the Veterans Administration Hospital here in Montrose, very close to where I live. And I talked with Vinny a lot at a family reunion, and I told him I'd go visit him. And I was thinking, the senior love along, I was planning on doing it for the senior homes near where I work through the Salvation Army. And I'm thinking if we can get enough, maybe I could, there's a nursing home just for veterans at the VA hospital in Montrose. It's very nice. And I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if I could get enough to bring some there as gifts as well, for not only our seniors but our veterans as well. So I'm going to look into that. I can't promise anything, but I told Vinny I'd come and visit him. And I'll find out more when I get there from the hospital administrator, the home administration, to see if it's something I could do. So I'll keep you posted, but wouldn't that be like really, really nice? So on that note, I will say goodbye. It's next weekend is my birthday weekend. I'm going to the city with my husband for a day. He took a day off. I hope he can walk around, but I don't know. His foot's getting better, but it's actually like a little stress fracture. He's still walking around. There's no cast, but it hurts. But I will be back probably in a couple of weeks. And until then, happy knitting. I'll see you soon. Ciao, ciao.
Happy birthday.